Sing. Sitting there. Oh my gosh. Yes, I am. So bless up all of the mothers that do them daily. Bless up all of the fathers that do them daily. Bless up all of the youths. Honor them parents. Yes, that was House Is Not a Home, one of my first songs. I wouldn't say it's the first song I hear, but it was one of the first songs that kind of draw me into the mystic of music. What is your first song that kind of captured you? Tell me in the comment section. You know, the first song that did reach you, that leave you feeling, whoa, what is that? So yeah, returning back to Calbut, and to be truthful, I signed the contract, but the contract really didn't mean much to I at the time. You know, it was just a formality. I wanted to make music. I really was not interested in the business because there is just so much complexity in the business. But making the music was definitely something that I was interested in, and that was happening. So more time when I was leaving from out of Richmond Park, up Montgomery Avenue, Hagley Park Road into Halfway Tree if you catch a bus to go to Marvel. I was just filled with excitement because it was another day in the studio. Another day I would be amongst brethren learning my craft and progressing the music. And it wasn't just about iMusic. I have brethren round I who did a progress, and I think when you're in a team, like how I was in a team, it cannot just be about an individual. It has to be about everybody progressing to their levels. So that was something that captured my mind in terms of being in the studio, being part of a team and helping to build a product. So it was just a time of joy, you know, with Calbut, a great teacher, and around some of the other brethren and the bigger heads and sisterins. It was a time of learning, but also a time of joy. So that was something that I look forward to. So maybe you're wondering what happened to Ken Bood during this time. So Ken was still around, obviously. He's still around now. But he gave me the baton. Let me put it that way. He gave me the baton. So for me now, it was about spending my time building my music, getting deeper into music, so I could go back to him and say, what you want. You see the start where you give me, this is what I have done with it. So I would touch base with him periodically, but for the majority of the time, I was spending learning my craft and trying to amplify the blessings that had been given unto I when we link up with Ken Bood. Now I want to speak about something that is a little bit maybe controversial or tricky. Yes, there was a lot of joy. I was making music. I was learning my craft. I was around influential people in music and learning this music thing. But there was something about I personally, in terms of my background, my philosophical underpinnings, if you can put it that way, that was going to be a problem. Let me put it that way. It's going to be a problem. For persons who are outside music, you will hear conscious music and you will think, well, that is what reggae music does. It produces artists who write music, who want to uplift people, who want to expose the system, and that's just normative within reggae music. But it is not normative. The artists that write certain types of music, your Sizzlers, your Capletons, your Garnet Silk, your Dennis Browns, your Max Romeo, your Burning Spear, all of these artists, and there are many, many more, have really tried to stand up against the music and what it wants. Because what is music for? You go into the supermarket, you hear music. BMW want to sell a car, they put music with it. So music really is everywhere, but it's not necessarily serving the purposes that you think it should be serving. So music, for instance, now with BMW, if I ask you what BMW makes, you would say BMW make cars or motorbikes, etc. But no, BMW makes money. That's what they're concerned with. That is what they're interested with. So the music goes along with the product that they're trying to sell. But I, as an artist, like the other artists that I have mentioned a while ago, we are driven by justice. We are driven by truths and rights, as Johnny Osborne said. So when we write a song, we don't just want la 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 baby I love you. You know, this is one of my issues with people who sing lovers rock and only sing lovers rock. is that they are dealing with product placement. They're not dealing with consciousness. They're not dealing with justice out in the system. And they're not dealing with tackling any oppressive elements within the system that we come across, especially as black people. They're not interested in that. They just want to sing love songs, sell a few products, and, obviously, people getting together on their music. So, my tradition as a singer, where I come from, or I came from at the time, was from the Nanny story, the Paul Bogle story, the Sam Sharp story, the Marcus Garvey story. These were the peoples and their philosophies, their approaches, their stance that they took for justice is what influenced my music. So it was always going to be a clash at some point. When you talk about success, whatever success is, obviously every individual have to decide what success is. But when we're talking about getting out there, getting your music played, getting on shows, for instance, it was always going to be an issue. Yes, Papa! My first album, Solid Ground, and my latest album, Stand Up Firm, are both available on all usual platforms. Check them out. Saying. But when we're talking about getting out there, getting your music played, getting on shows, for instance, it was always going to be an issue. But we don't look at that as a negative, and I don't look at that as a negative. I just look at that as confirmation that there is a system that is trying to control everyone, and more so, it is trying to control the music. Because music and sound is consciousness. Music is all about how you feel. And the powers that be, they know that if they play a music that distracts you from everything that is taking place, then you cannot respond to it. And this was something that came up many years ago in the period of Rome. Because Rome came up with kind of sports and other things to distract people from being politically aware, from being politically conscious. So they came up with sports and gladiatory type of entertainment, let me put it that way, which we still have today, entertainment. And there was, I think he was a philosopher or a historian rather, from Rome named Julius. So he came up with this term, bread and circuses, which speaks to the distraction that the entertainment business does to you as a listener, or does to us as listeners, because we always listen to music. So when we see certain shenanigans taking place within the dance hall or the entertainment sector, we have to remember that phrase, bread and circuses. This is not about waking up your consciousness to change your reality, or our people's reality, especially your children's reality, and give them a better future. This is just about going out for a few hours, to drink, smoke, or take whatever it is you want to take, and then you get back to your daily grind, but you're miserable same way. So the business is control, and we as artists, we know this. And this is something I was learning being around Calbut, in terms of, the obstacles that may arise when you write certain songs. Even though Calbut himself, him love conscious music, him love political music, him love songs with tackle issue, but at the same time we are aware that there will be a fight. Yeah, so one day they at the studio, reach up at the studio, and a whole heap of persons were outside the studio. And a brother, they did it with a ponytail, a sit down. And some 1 and 2 man a sit down around him. You saw a next set of man a sit down around him. They saw Calbut there. And so other man and them did a reason. And I walk into this reasoning. And when I walk in, and the brother sit down with the ponytail, at the first me I meet him turned to me and Calbut must say, I herald this, because this time I don't have no artist name or anything. I'm just recording songs. Boom. Not just recording songs, but I'm recording. So the brother turned to me and him say, so what's your artist name? And I say, I don't have an artist name. All this time I go to Calbut, we never talk about name, we just have record music. Him said to me, you're going to need a name. If you're an artist, you're going to need a name. So we did it the whole day, do a thing, and then when I was leaving and returning back down into Halfway Tree that night, I started to think about, well, what would I call myself? What would I call myself? What name would I go for? And at the time I was reading Genesis in the Bible, and they talked about Kush, as a region close to Ethiopia, very influential in terms of the history of Kemet, because the Kush-Ites were the early pyramid builders and they were conquered by the Egyptians, and they rose during their serfdom in Egypt to become pharaohs, and they were the dark-skinned pharaohs, and that kind of chime with my life in the West, you know, that we feel we're under oppression, we know we're under oppression, we know our story in terms of where we came from and how we got to Jamaica, and yet we see ourselves as rising. You know, we look at Bob Marley and certain other artists, them, you know, they rose and became kings and queens within this system. So I saw myself as a Kushite. You know, that story resonated with I and I, so that was the name I chose for myself. So this person, his name was Barry. This person with the ponytail who asked me this question, and I thought it was a real thought-provoking question. Barry now is the one who was funding Calbut. He was the one what was putting in the money for build the vice room and the big mixing board and all of them something there. But Calbut never tell you where the money did that come from. And to be honest, we never care. We just want to make music. When we know says Barry are the lead man now, things, you know, that was like a light bulb moment as they say go ping. You just know say the man that. So after we meet Barry, still I go to his studio, until one day, you know, reach up at the studio, you know, and the door lock. We are ring Calbut, reach at my house, we are ring him, can't get him. We are ask the other man them, which part Calbut there? Nobody know which part in there. And one sister used to be at the studio quite regularly, you know, although she wasn't making music. But she knew Calbut and she would have come sit in. A lot of people love to go to the studio and sit in and take in the vibes, and she was one of them. So I call her one day, I said, what happened to Calbut? This is about after about 3 weeks now, can't find the brother, you know. And I must get the number from somebody else who can tell me, said, ask the sister in here to see if she know which part Calbut there. So when I call her now and I say, well, yo, I want him to Calbut, which part him there? You know what she said to me? She said, Calbut a madman, you know, and if I go wrong this and try to find him, you know, my man will chop off my head. Remember me tell you, say the man have a different character to him. And he really love Joe Creed. And he love the fact that Joe Creed, when we take out him gun and bust shot, and Calbut a tell me now more time when we are reason, say no man now come a film studio, come a cast him. So him a file for him license gun. So him have a aspect to him now where when the sister tell me this now, it makes sense. Me never challenge her upon it, because some know the man have a side to him where we get in him feelings. And it might get violent from this. So basically him disappear off the face of the earth, and I never know where him was. I do all of these recordings. I'm going to tell you something else about a tape, the same tape where we record music on. When I was working with Calbut, I became so interested in the music, I said I'm going to start to do some self-production, so produce some music myself. So I will record myself and I will record other artists, and I leave the tape around Calbut because we start work on a few songs. So while I'm working on his material, I'm also working on my material, because I was so interested in the thing, and my father is a man, him teach you to have your own. Don't just deal with a man thing and take a man thing, try to have your own. So I buy a tape and I give him and I start record. So at the time when Calbut gone, missing off of the face of the earth, him all gone with my music, brethren. The man gone with the music, you know, and I was in a wilderness now, because yeah man, the lick did hot, man, may I tell you. The lick did hot. Worse when the sister tell me, say, she nah go wrong there, so she nah go try to find him. Because him is a man will kick off and get wicked and them things. So I never really know what to do after that. May I tell you the truth? I never know what to do. And it felt like the music, you know, the music did stop. So how I responded to this, I will tell you the next time. Me and you all are reasoning. Go and bless it up every time.